In a word, it's chaos.
You'll have to see it to believe it. Whoever said that must have been talking about Talladega. It's a place where chaos mixes with speed, where a town turns into a city, and a weekend becomes a lifetime of memories. It's a tradition like no other.
What a wild finish.
At a track like no other. And after it's all over, you still won't believe it ever happened.
The winner at Talladega.
Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. I'm Roger Hoover, great to be back with you from our CTSN studios as we start this show to get you ready for Alabama against Arkansas on Saturday. As we go through the opening headlines, they're always presented by RJ Young. They're the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us this smartboard to help us go through all the different headlines for today. First of all, coming up on the show, we'll hear as always from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, hear what he had to say to the media following Wednesday's practice, and then we'll be visiting with middle linebacker Henry To'o, as we always have exclusive one-on-one conversations with Alabama football players on the show. So next up is Henry T. Then we'll be hearing from Chris Stewart as he'll preview what's coming up later tonight on Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show, plus some thoughts on Tide football getting ready for Saturday against Arkansas. And then our final guest will be Brian Crichton. He is the president of Talladega Superspeedway. Of course, this show is Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, and NASCAR is returning to the Yellowhammer State coming up on Sunday with a huge race in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs at Talladega. Looking at some other headlines, starting with Crimson Tide football. Again, we're getting set for the Arkansas game coming up on Saturday at 2:30. Our radio coverage, as you see at the bottom of the screen, will begin at 11:30 a.m. from Reynolds Razorback Stadium. Since Nick Saban arrived to Alabama, the Crimson Tide have dominated this series, winning the last 15 meetings. That is all from the Saban era on. The last loss to Arkansas was in 2 overtimes back to 2006. Now, this year's Razorbacks team, similar to last year, playing really well. Already off to a 3-1 start, a win against South Carolina, and then a loss last time out against Texas A&M in Arlington. So you know it's going to be a hungry Razorback team coming up on Saturday. Crimson Tide soccer team, just like football, keep on winning. Now ranked 5th in the nation. It's the highest ranking in program history. And tonight, taking on the Georgia Bulldogs at 5 p.m. in Athens, a game that was originally scheduled for Friday but was moved up as Georgia starts to deal with some of the effects of Hurricane Ian. Felicia Knox making headlines all over the place for the Crimson Tide. She is now the NCAA leader with 11 assists, and now she owns the school record in assists. We still have a long way to go this season, not even to October yet, and Felicia Knox already has that record. So congratulations to her, gaining some more recognition for her outstanding play. Some final notes on Alabama athletics for today. The volleyball team will be on the road taking on number 18 Kentucky coming up on Saturday. The men's golf team was able to close out strong at the SEC match play with a win against Georgia, hosting that tournament in Birmingham. So congratulations to Cannon Claycomb and the men's golf team for their great performance. We know women's basketball will be on TV a lot coming up this season. We hope, of course, you join us on the radio for most games, but TV schedule was announced. Plenty of chances to see the Crimson Tide on national television this year. And also, it's really cool to have Bryant-Denny tours resuming this season, as Greg Byrne was even able to lead some of the first ones earlier this week. And if you want more information on how you can get an up-close view and behind-the-scenes look at Bryant-Denny Stadium, just head to RollTide.com. Of course, we're talking football on this show. We start this episode of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, by hearing from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, as we get ready for Saturday at Arkansas.
This is a really tough challenge for us. Playing a really good team on the road that has, really difficult offense to defend, a lot of good players, really talented quarterback who can beat you running, passing, extending plays. Their defense is playing really, really well. They got great pass rush. So, we need to have great focus on what we need to do to prepare and play well for this game because it's going to be a very difficult game for us. So, it's a great challenge for us. Obviously, we'll be able to see where we are as a team, but psychologically, I think everybody has to know this is the toughest challenge of the year. He's practiced this week, but again, everything's day to day with these guys that are coming off injuries. It's, not always about just what they were able to do today, but how does it affect tomorrow? So we'll see, he is on a day-to-day basis and have to make a decision about that. Yeah, those guys are tough, man. They're physical, they play hard. They do a great job of doing what they do well. They're really well coached. So, I think it's a reflection of Sam's personality And that's how their whole team is, and that's what makes them, really a good team. They've got good players, but they've got great, like mental and physical toughness, and really play hard and play together as a group.
Coming up later in the show, we will be talking some NASCAR as the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs are returning to Alabama this weekend. Don't miss out on the opportunity to see defending champion Bubba Wallace as he attempts to go back-to-back at Talladega Superspeedway this Sunday. Tickets are on sale now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. If you can't make it out to the track, tune into the race on NBC at 1 p.m. Central on October 2nd. Well, we've heard from the Crimson Tide head coach Nick Saban. Now it's time to have a one-on-one conversation with Alabama linebacker Henry To'oTo'o. He was the leading tackler against Vanderbilt this past Saturday. He's been leading this Crimson Tide defense on the field all season long. It was great to catch up with Henry To'oTo'o, Alabama linebacker, earlier this week. We've played 4 games so far this year. How have you felt about the start of the season?
Definitely excited about it. I think it was a good start for us. Coach made an emphasis about, playing 4 quarters. We're a quarter away through the season. So definitely just trying to keep it up, sustain throughout the whole season and expect big things out of us.
Last year, a lot of people talked about your transition from Tennessee to Alabama, starting to learn the Alabama way. Now that you've had a full offseason back off that season as well, just how has it felt getting ready for this year?
It's been a blessing, honestly. Just being able to be under Coach Saban's wing, learn his ways, learn why, this place is so special. Honestly got comfortable with the guys, comfortable with the scheme, the coaches. And I think the guys, they gained my trust, and this has been a huge blessing for me.
How competitive is that linebacker room right now?
It's so competitive. Every single day we're out competing for a job. But I think the camaraderie that we have in that room is the biggest part of it. We want each other to succeed as much as we can and see the best out of everybody. I love each and every one of those guys in that room. Those are my dogs for so. But we're some big competitors in there.
Keeping teams out of the end zone once they reach the red zone has been a big point of emphasis, certainly helped in the win against Texas. We've seen that in the games here as well. Just what have you guys talked about when it comes to red zone defense?
You got to buckle up. And that's where, defenses are made, and that's where you create your identity as a defense is when your back's against the wall and they're about to score. So that's kind of been one huge part of our defense this offseason was red zone efficiency. So being able to stop them to a field goal, create a turnover and stuff like that. So that's been huge for us. This just stacking it now, doing it over and over again and preventing those guys from scoring.
Now you're getting ready to play Arkansas again. What do you remember about last year's Arkansas game and their quarterback, KJ Jefferson?
Yeah, that was definitely one of those close games that came down to the wire, one of those last drive kind of games. KJ Jefferson was a huge part to their success, and, he's a great quarterback. And expect big things out of him, expect a big game plan for him. He's huge, can make a lot of throws, can run the ball. So it's just about, playing fundamental football, having gap integrity and doing stuff like that. So it'll be huge.
And the Crimson Tide playing their Arkansas Razorbacks on the road in Fayetteville. Do you like playing in a tough road environment?
Oh, 100%. 100%. One of our main goals is emptying the stadium before the game is done. So that's one of the main reasons why, your back's against the wall. Nobody wants you to win. So that's one of the main reasons why I like playing on the road.
We look forward to Saturday. Henry, thank you for joining us. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
You'll have to see it to believe it. Whoever said that must have been talking about Talladega. It's a place where chaos mixes with speed, where a town turns into a city, and a weekend becomes a lifetime of memories. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Huge thank you to Henry To'oTo'o for joining us. A great conversation with Alabama's inside linebacker who, again, led the Crimson Tide in tackles last game against Vanderbilt. Seems ready to go for this Saturday's game at Arkansas. Speaking of ready to go, Chris Stewart's going to be a very busy man as tonight he will host Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show, filling in for Eli Gold at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. Then he's going to make his way, of course, to Fayetteville for Saturday's game between Alabama and Arkansas. So before Chris Stewart hits the road and gets ready for, first of all, tonight's edition of Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show, he joins us to preview what's ahead on the show tonight and this Saturday in Fayetteville. Chris, Roll Tide. We're a third of the way through the regular season, and Alabama's a perfect 4-0.
Isn't that crazy? Not that Alabama's perfect and 4-0, but that we are a third of the way through the season. I prefer to say we're maybe a fourth of the way or closer to that. If things go well and we wind up playing in a championship game in Atlanta and then a couple of playoff games, that'd be closer to it, I think. But it's a great start, and Tide, I think, looking very good and probably their best of the season on Saturday against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, the Crimson Tide were able to really play, it seemed like, their brand of football, got a lot of receivers involved, ran the football extremely well, and then as we saw, the defense is as strong as it's been.
Yeah, Roger, and I think that's going to be the case, especially the offense. We know what the defense is. We knew what the defense was going to be, or felt like we did coming in. But the question was, how's the offense going to be? And it's kind of where the standard is for Alabama, that they have beaten a team in an environment like the one in Austin against Texas with two great drives late. Their other three games, they've scored better than 50 points in all three. And you still hear some people going, I'm not real sure about that offense. That's natural. That's understandable. And frankly, I think to a degree, it's fair. But when you think about the guys that are playing such key roles, or the guys that haven't seen the field yet that are going to play key roles, and the fact that they are new or fairly new to their role with the team, if not entirely new to the roster itself, I'm excited about where this team is going to be November, December, January, even more so than where they are right now, which is 4-0.
And next up on the schedule, a trip to Fayetteville to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas's team off to a 3-1 start. Just as you get ready for Saturday's broadcast, what have you learned so far about Sam Pittman's team?
I've learned that they should win Saturday, that they're a whole lot better, and I just don't think they will give Alabama the possessions and the points that they handed to Texas A&M. I mean, they left so much meat on that bone, which is something that rarely happens in Fayetteville, Arkansas. But they will be very, very good against the Tide. They're really talented, both sides of the ball. But that offense, I think, can be really dangerous. Alabama's going to have to take advantage of the fact that they are not probably as good in the passing game. They're going to have to be efficient there. And I have no doubt that they will be. But that's going to be a tough ball game. This is one of those teams, and there are a few on the schedule that you look at and go, boy, if Bama's not ready to play, it could be a long Saturday.
We can really say that about everything coming up in October. I mean, if you look ahead to the rest of the schedule, even though we're focused on Arkansas, this is really one of the key stretches of the season for Alabama.
No question. This one, the Tennessee game, and this is just the analyst and former talk show guy, I guess, in me. Those two elements, those two ball games, I should say, give me some cause for concern. I'm not as concerned about a certain matchup in Tuscaloosa that falls in between. I have zero doubt that our team will be focused and prepared and locked in and more than ready for that particular ball game, and it certainly goes for the fans as well.
Absolutely. We know you're going to be locked in as well on Thursday night for Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. What can you tell us about what's coming up at Baumhower's Victory Grill?
Looking forward to it as always, especially with great guests like the ones we're going to have. Patrick Murphy with us talking Bama softball. Always love talking with Murph. And also a buddy of mine, and Ryan Hennessy from NBC 13 in Birmingham, will be our media guest on with Coach. And of course, he'll be with us in the 7 o'clock hour, and that's always a lot of fun. And so really looking forward to the show and previewing what I think is going to be a very tough weekend in Fayetteville against a very talented Razorback team.
We look forward to it. Chris, safe travels to the Ozarks coming up this weekend. I appreciate your time here on Crimson Drive. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, Roger. Thanks so much.
Certainly hope you can join us tonight at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa for Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show as Chris Stewart fills in for Eli to host that show. Plus, he'll call the football game coming up on Saturday in Fayetteville. But on Sunday, we're all going to be racing home to make sure we watch the Yellowwood 500 that's coming up at Talladega Superspeedway. Of course, Crimson Drive, this show is driven by NASCAR. So this week with NASCAR racing returning back to Alabama for the weekend, we wanted to talk to somebody that, of course, knows all the details of what's coming up at Talladega, and that is the president of Talladega Superspeedway, Brian Crichton, as he joins us to give us a full preview of what's coming up at Talladega this Sunday and more on the partnership as well between Alabama Athletics and NASCAR. Brian, we've been enjoying this partnership between Alabama and NASCAR all throughout football season. Roll Tide. It's great to see you. How's everything going in Talladega?
Yeah, Roll Tide. It's, it just makes a whole lot of sense. You guys just always drive it down the field and we drive it around the racetrack here. So it's like a marriage made in heaven here in Alabama.
It really is, because so many Alabama fans are race fans as well. And I'm sure Talladega weekends, you see a lot of crimson, a lot of Alabama flags, a lot of people watching Alabama football in the infield on Saturdays.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And, we got a great college program. So we see a lot of, the students that come out here to take in all the fun activities that go on out here. And yes, absolutely. A lot of Crimson Tide fans here, and also a lot of Crimson Tide workers here too. So it's definitely the number one group that's here at Talladega.
Well, we're really excited about all of NASCAR coming back to Talladega for this upcoming weekend. Just kind of walk us through what's coming up at the track coming up this week.
Yeah, we've got 3 days of racing activity. We kick it off on Friday. We've got the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series. They're both practicing and qualifying on Friday. And then Saturday, we have a triple header. Well, a double header for races, but I'm calling it a triple header because we're also doing Cup qualifying. So we're going to kick off the day with the NASCAR Cup Series qualifying. And then we're going to have the Truck Series race, and that's a playoff race as well. And then the Xfinity Series playoff race. So 2 great races on Saturday. Saturday night, we've got a free concert with Bailey Zimmerman opening up for Chase Rice. So anybody that has an infield admission or a Sunday ticket gets free access into the infield for that concert too. So it's not just about the racing here at Talladega. It's about all the fun activities we have going on here as well.
Yeah, the infield really is so unique. What can you tell our fans who maybe haven't experienced that before? You really have to feel it, day in, day out, gearing up to the race. It really is unique.
It is. Yeah, we have about 2,700 RV spots in the infield, and they are all completely sold out. So it is an iconic infield. People that come from all over the nation here to Talladega Superspeedway to enjoy the infield. We've got Talladega Boulevard, which I kind of call spring break. Meets Mardi Gras, meets NASCAR, meets your favorite Alabama tailgate zone. It's an experience all on its own. And so it's, just a great place to be, a lot of fun in there. And then we also have our Talladega Garage Experience, which is a $50 million renovation that we did around our garages. So the number one question we get is, how can I get into the garages? And just like you guys can't put everybody down onto the field or into the locker room, we can't put everybody into the garages. But what we did is we built this experience around the garages. So you get to walk under the same roof. And the only thing that separates you and the race car is about a 4-foot high fence and about 5 foot off the nose of the car. So you get to see the drivers, the crew chiefs, the teams all interacting. It's just a great experience. Victory Lane is part of this as well. So you get to see all 3 of the races. You get to be part of Victory Lane that's there. We have a game zone. We have a kids zone. We have value price concessions there. So $2 bottles of water, $2 Coke products, $2 hot dogs, $4 cheeseburgers, and fries. And it's just a great experience in there. It's almost like an attraction or something you'd see down in Disney World, but it's just all about the racing experience. So it's really cool to be in there.
Well, and something that's new for NASCAR this season, the next generation car. We got to see that at Talladega in the spring. Just first of all, what was your reaction seeing that new model of car, and how did it perform at Talladega this past spring?
Yeah, it performed really well at not only at Talladega this past spring, but also Daytona for the Daytona 500, and then Daytona this past August. The car is just, all 3 brands just look mean. I mean, they look like the Mustang, they look like the Camaro, they look like the Camry, but they don't have 4 doors on the Camry. But also just the sound of them too. It's just this throaty, deeper sound. And just the competition has been just unparalleled throughout the whole entire season, but especially at the super speedways like Daytona and Talladega. They really nailed the package here. And so it's been great racing.
Yeah, you mentioned the competition among the drivers. There have been a lot of parity, it seems like, this season throughout NASCAR. Who are some of the big contenders coming up this weekend?
Yeah, so I mean, 19 different winners so far this year, and I think that goes back to that next gen car as well. You always look at some of the different drivers that performed well at Daytona and Talladega, here in the spring. Penske, the Ford Penske's are always strong, so maybe Joey Logano or Ryan Blaney might be up front there. You can never count the Hendrick teams out too, so they've got 4 still in the playoffs too, and so if they win, everybody moves on. So, but the one of the best things about Talladega Superspeedway is it's one of those wild card races. So we have a lot of first time winners here as well. So you never know who's going to win until that pack's coming out of that tri-oval, going towards that start finish line on lap 188 before that checker flag flies.
Of course, we love the speed. We love when the cars can get 3, sometimes 4 wide. Just what's your favorite part about racing at Talladega?
You just nailed it right there. I mean, that 3 and 4 wide, it's hold your breath. It's, sitting on the edge of your seat. The old saying goes, we'll sell you the seat, but you won't use it because the crowd is just standing here. And then, back in the day when Dale Earnhardt Sr. or Dale Earnhart Jr. would take the lead and the crowd would just go crazy. Well, nowadays it's Chase Elliott. So when Chase Elliott takes the lead here at Talladega, as a fan favorite, the crowd just goes nuts. And so that's always cool. You can be anywhere in the venue and if Chase Elliott takes the lead, just like you knew when the Earnhardts took the lead before. So it's just it's awesome. It's seeing them 3 and 4 wide coming through that tri-oval at 200 miles an hour. It's just it's a feeling like no other.
Yeah, and you just said from anywhere you are, is there a favorite spot for you around this track?
That's a great question. There's so many, but my favorite spot is just to the left of the turn 2 tunnel. Now it's a little private area there. It's where our fire safety teams are, but you go up there and you sit there and you watch those cars coming out of turn 2 at 200 miles an hour. It is just an amazing, amazing thing. So actually Gene Stallings was our grand marshal one year, and he went there and we were with him, and he was just standing there and he sat there for like 3 laps, never said a word. And our chairman at the time, Grant Lynch, said, "Coach, are you okay?" And he said, "The courage those men have, to do what they do is just unbelievable." And so, I mean, a great story from, one of the all-time greats, right there to be in that spot and to see those cars coming out of turn 2. It's an awesome spot.
We love anytime Gene Stallings is mentioned on this show, so thank you for bringing him up. As we get ready for everything that's coming up this weekend, just where can fans go to purchase tickets and make the most of their Talladega experience?
Yeah, we got 2 great opportunities. So if you like to browse the internet, if you like to look around and kind of see all the different options, go to TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. You can see all the tickets that are available. We still have outside camping available. I mentioned the infield sold out, but we still have camping on the outside that's still available. Sorry, I just had a pop up there. But so then go to TalladegaSuperspeedway.com and you can go through the whole purchase process there. Or if you'd like to talk to a representative and find out what's available, you can call 877-GO-2, and that's the number 2, GO2DEGA.
NASCAR at Talladega, of course, Crimson Tide football. It's been a great partnership all throughout the season, one we look forward to continuing as well. Just Brian Crichton, the president of Talladega Superspeedway, thank you so much for joining us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. All the best to you guys this weekend. I know you're going to be cheering on Alabama's game at Arkansas on Saturday as well, but thank you again for joining us. Roll Tide.
Absolutely. Roll Tide, and keep it rolling. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the national championship again.
Love talking about NASCAR with Brian Crichton. We're hoping for a great weekend coming up in Talladega. The weather should be perfect on Sunday for the race and the Cup Series as the playoffs continue. Just a great partnership between Alabama Athletics and NASCAR that we hope to continue for a long time. So fun conversation with Brian Crichton. Hopefully everyone can check out the NASCAR races as well as what's coming up on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, as it's time to take a look at our Wickles Weekend Update, brought to you by Wickles Pickles. They are the official pickle of the Crimson Tide, and of course they are wickedly delicious. You can find out more at WicklesPickles.com. Well, coming up on the network later tonight, 6:30 p.m., it will be Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show from Baumhauer's Victory Grill here in Tuscaloosa. So we look forward to that show coming up as, again, Chris Stewart told us Patrick Murphy will join him for the first half hour. Ryan Hennessy is the media guest, and then we'll hear from Coach Saban. Then tomorrow, This Week on the CTSN podcast, maybe on your trip to Fayetteville or your trip to Talladega, you can listen to that podcast featuring the best of all of our content from the week. And then coming up on Saturday, we turn the calendar to the month of October, and it will be Alabama against Arkansas. Game 5 of the season is coming up. 2:30 will be the kickoff. Of course, our radio coverage will come to you live from Fayetteville starting at 11:30 a.m. for the Crimson Tide and the Razorbacks as Alabama tries to make it 16 wins in a row against Arkansas. Then we will recap the game on the Nick Saban television show on Sunday as Chris Stewart and Coach Saban will talk about the game and, of course, take a look back at some of the key plays from that ball game. A lot of our stations around the state as well have Tide TV This Week, airing that show right after the Coach Saban show, so make sure you check out Tide TV This Week, hosted by Kenzie Hughes. And then on Monday night, we will have Crimson Tide Rewind. It will come to you live at 6 p.m. from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills, Alabama. I look forward to catching up with Corey Reamer and talking about the Arkansas game, plus starting to look ahead to Alabama against Texas A&M. Then we'll be back with our next edition of this show, Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, coming up on Tuesday at 2 p.m. right back here on all CTSN social media outlets. Again, Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Don't miss out on your chance to see the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs return to Talladega this Sunday. Purchase your tickets today for the NASCAR Cup Series playoff race at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com and be part of the best atmosphere in sports. Again, we thank NASCAR for being such a huge part of this show. Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We're thrilled that racing has returned to Alabama this weekend at Talladega. Fun conversation with Brian Crichton. We appreciate his time, as well as Chris Stewart and Henry Toto. And of course, we started the show with comments from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban. Special thanks to Ethan Carabin, our producer, who put this entire show together. Thanks to all of you for watching. Now let's get ready for the weekend. Alabama football in Arkansas, NASCAR racing returning to Talladega. It's a special weekend coming up as we start the month of October. For everybody with Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying again, thank you for watching, have a great weekend, and roll Tide.